up? Welcome to Unlock Your Soul with yours truly, Anto Neosoul. This is a space where we scratch beneath the surface to find out what really makes us human. Today, I have a very, very special guest all the way from Kibera, number 9. He's our second guest from Kibera after Jimmy Truth of CISO. But this gentleman, I met him at the EU in Kenya event that happened, literally last year. And I got to learn about his amazing initiative called Mtaa Safi. Mtaa Safi basically means clean hood, clean neighborhood. I want to introduce to you guys a former footballer, but an environmentalist by heart, mind, soul, and body. The one and only Juma. Mambo.
Poor. That's a great introduction.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So next time when they introduce you at those high-level events, tell them, you read this, just do what this guy has done. Do exactly this. Juma, mambo VP.
Poor sana.
Juma, I call you Juma Mtaa Safi. What is actually your real name?
So my real name, Denis Juma.
Denis Juma.
Yeah.
Juma is the most common. When I used to grow up, it was like Mr. Juma. In every public primary school book. Mr. Juma had 5 oranges. His children ate 3. How many more? How many was he left with? So thank you for joining us, Juma. I want us to talk about, your growing up in Kibera. First, what was the Mtaa gani Kibera and how was life growing up in Kibera?
Oh, so thank you. So mimi nimegro Kibera. Kibera ni wide. Kibera has 13 villages. And for me, I grew up in a village. I think it's one of the biggest villages in Kibera. It's called Gatwekera. Yeah, so Gatwekera, we've always said, is like the capital city of Kibera. Because that is where politics is all around. That is where a lot of stuff starts spiking up during election, on a normal day-to-day lifestyle. There's a lot of investment in terms of organization, business, and the growth that is happening there.
Yeah.
So my parents came to Kibera around the early 1990s.
Yeah.
Then in the late 1990s, that's where I was born.
Yeah.
So I've literally spent all my life in Kibera.
So how's life growing up in Kibera? How was it? How was Gatwekera? Was it fun? Was it dangerous? Or is it just you don't even... It was just as a child, how was it?
So growing up in Gatwekera, by that time it was fun because we had less people in the... When I was growing up, when I was 1 to maybe 7, there were less people. Then it was kind of bushy in some way because, with the forest, the river cleaner compared to what it is right now. So it was a good life. We had adventure. We had lifestyle. It was kind of perfect until maybe after 2007, everything transformed.
After the post-election violence.
Yeah.
So did that, during election time, and of course with all the madness that comes with elections, did it affect you in any way growing up? Any trauma, in terms of always being ready to move or just being worried about what's about to happen next? How did election interrupt your life in Gatwekera?
Okay, so before 2007, everything was okay. Then Kibera basically is wide, and it's more diverse. So we've got every people from different tribes, people from different cultures, ethnicity, and everything. But ideally, most of the guys from Kikuyu tribe on the properties in terms of housing, the repairs were done. It was kind of easy to manage waste in between the community. But after the 2007, the post-violence election, most of the Kikuyus had to move. And now most of the houses and the properties were owned by the people who didn't have them legally, So after that, everything will never be the same. Because during that time, you can imagine at that tender age, you saw the violence. I saw how people were being butchered, their fights and everything. Our parents used to have to find something for you at the end of the day. So we used to be locked in the house all day.
And how many siblings do you have? How many kids are you at home?
5.
5.
Yeah.
So also it's not easy because raising kids in these neighborhoods, even if it's just one kid, it's not easy because the opportunities and women mostly are the ones affected because they have to feed you no matter what happens. Okay, so that's a very, when people talk about, we were talking earlier about how when we talk about difficult upbringing, people think it's a normal, not just having 1 meal a day. And some people choose to have 1 meal a day so they can have a good body, so they can diet. But for some of you people, it's a really difficult upbringing, not knowing where your next meal is gonna come from. So, but then also, I found out today that you are also still quite a very good footballer. What position do you play, and how did you end up in Upper Hill School? Yeah.
I think mostly if you grow up in an informal settlement, I think the main sport is football.
Yeah.
So growing up in Kibera was so good. I was talented in football. I think it's natural because my dad also used to play football. So he really supported me during my growing up when I was young.
Yeah.
So I joined a club called Otada. That was my first football club. It was just a local club. We used to come together, play football from... I started playing when I was around 5, 6. Yeah. Then I joined an academy in Otada. I went to Ligindogo. That was like one of the posh academies that we had in Kibera, you know.
Ligindogo is like, it's got the most Swahili name, but the most bougie, like, you know.
Yeah.
Everything's bougie there.
So I got opportunities to play football as well. So I played for some different clubs. Then I had this friend of mine who gave me an opportunity to travel to Norway when I was like 13, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, so with football, it was like everything for me. But my parents were like, apart from the talent that you have, then there's also education, which might be another opportunity for you in the future.
Yeah.
So they always pushed for education for me. And when I was playing football, I was spotted. You know, during that time, growing up in maybe a single square room with 5 kids, you know, the parents are not in a position to take all of you to school.
Yeah.
Then for my story, it was unfortunate because my sister is an year older than me. But unfortunately, we sat for the KCP in the same year. So I did better compared to her. But my dad was like, so what do you think?
Yeah.
Then growing up in that particular time, it's really disadvantageous for girls not to go to school.
Yeah.
So as a young guy, I was like, okay, I can find a way out. Give the opportunity to my sister to go to school.
So you're one of those people who sat in the house and you literally have to choose between who should go to school, like who should we take to school, who's gonna get us out of this gutter. And you decided, I'm gonna choose my sister, let her just go. I'm a dude, me, I'll find a way.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you get spotted.
Yeah, so that's when I was spotted. I spoke to, by then, the head teacher, Mr. Orero.
Yeah.
I got the opportunity to join Form 1.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there were some issues, you know. You have to go, like, back to play for some more years. Then I'm not that guy who is like, I'm not going to spend all this time in high school just because I want to play football.
Yeah.
So I had the same friend who helped me when I was young. So I got a scholarship.
Yeah.
To support me all through my high school. So I went to Ofafa Jericho High School, still played football.
Yeah.
I had to level with my education. I found it interesting. And I was like, yeah, let me do it.
Do you feel though, do you sometimes look back and say, if maybe I took football more seriously, even if I was to like take extra years back in school, I'd probably be a big footballer right now?
Yeah, sure.
Do you feel like, man, maybe I should have done this football thing? Because I understand our obsession with education. I understand that education can change your life, but also football can change your life. When I was in school, I remember when I was in Upper Hill, I remember Oliech was in Upper Hill. Man, never used to see that guy in school, in class.
He was a footballer.
Man, never saw him in class. Mr. Orero, would you like to answer that question? I never saw him in school, in class, but I know he was playing for Upper Hill. And then it reached a point where Upper Hill became a very, very, very sporty school. And this is actually thanks to Mr. Orero.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, Mr. Orero is like, he's now the MP for Kibera.
Yes.
Let me tell you guys, Mr. Orero is a very cool person. I don't know about other people's experience, but to me, he was a very cool person. I mean, he was literally like the type of person who will just support boys. You know, like just let these boys be, support them, let them play football, let them play rugby, do whatever you can to support them. But I mean, here you are, you've left high school, you're still in Kibera. How do you then end up having this passion for the environment? What sparks the green in you?
Yeah, so like I've said, growing up in Kibera, it was more green and nice.
Yeah.
So when I started understanding myself when I was like in Form 2, Form 3, I realized that the adventure that we used to have in Kibera is no longer there.
Yeah.
We had caves, they're still there, but they are dirtier. The river now was more dirtier. People were dumping in the river. Along the railway tracks, it was dirtier. So people like took it normal to just dump anywhere. And now, unfortunately, because we don't have like official dump sites, people started like just coming up with landfills. And everywhere you were walking, before we had like the tarmac road, thanks to the NMS, it has really changed a lot. Before it was chaotic. So cars cannot come in terms of emergency. There is waste all over. There is outbreak of cholera that was in 2017, 2018. So I was like, what is happening? What is transforming that we didn't have before? Because ideally, the youth have been doing garbage collection door to door. So I was like, this one is not enough.
Yeah.
And since I'm a guy who love a clean environment, even in my place, I just try to make it much better.
Yeah.
When I add the waste from home, I used to sort it from just the basic knowledge that I had. So I was like, I need to get more information to learn and see what I can start doing in my own village so that I can spike the other youth. And that's where I find myself now trying to involve myself in more of marches for the environment, trying to understand the diversity of climate, the diversity of the globe itself, the earth, the water, everything. And I just found myself loving what I'm doing. And I wanted to do more.
And then you started the initiative called Mtaa Safi.
Yeah.
Tell us, I mean, Mtaa Safi means clean neighborhood, clean hood, clean environment. So how is it, starting this sort of movement and give us, paint for us a picture. We're going to insert pictures and videos for you guys to sort of see the work at hand, on the ground. But how does that look like? Like in the morning when you wake up, what does it mean when you have to make calls or WhatsApp or whatever? People decide to just come and dump. You know how they dump at night? Yeah. They dump somewhere so someone else can deal with it. How does that look like? What do you do to make sure that your mtaa is actually Safi?
So funny enough, I'll say most of the people when they hear the word Mtaa Safi, everything that comes to their mind is the environmental stuff, the dirty neighborhood and the other perspective of it. But coming up with Mtaa Safi, my idea was different. Kibera has been painted as a bad place by most of the people. From what you read from the social media, when the people come or they ask you. So I also did tours when I cleared my high school. And I used to get a lot of difficult questions from people who came to visit. And the Mtaa Safi actually was trying to paint a different mindset of the community. That is what I envisioned. And when I brought the youth together, I was like, what can we do environmentally so that at the end of the day, we can change the narrative of how people have been perceiving the community. Because after 2007 to around 2013, Kibera really had insecurities. Now, after post-violence election, everyone is trying to recover, less job opportunities from the government. And at the end of the day, you need to find something. So there are some places in Kibera which were not safe for you to access,
Growing up mtaa, kuna venye population imekuwa increase with time. So unapata the more wasa wanakuja mtaa, the more populated inakuwa, the more dirty it becomes. People are becoming more reckless in terms of dump and waste management, and now people start dumping everywhere. So imekuwa ni challenge because since Kibera itself is in something like a valley, iko chini, tembo inanyesha, hii mesi yote ninge kwa makeja. Na mimi kabla nimegrow mtaa, nimekuwa affected na hiyo personally. So watu wamechukua tu ni normal. Mimi nikitupa hapa uchafu, mse mwingine anakuja natupa hivyo. Ina grow inakuwa ni tumetengeneza informal dump sites. Then inaenda tu ikiongezeka. So imekuwa ni something normal to the community na kwangu inaniuma. So basically aspect ya Mtaa Safi, one ni ku-engage community. The moment community iko sensitized na ime-engagewa, wana understand hii ghetto ni yetu. If you do not clean your house, nobody is coming to clean it for you. So that's why we come up na hii idea ya Mtaa Safi. Safi wanted to cover hiyo gap yenye imekuwa in between. By bringing the bridge ya kusema community na my youth, we can do something kwa UST yetu na tuone what we can do to make it at least better kuliko venye tulipata hii ghetto.
For you to access, if you're an outsider. So I really wanted to change the painting that we are having of Kibera. And that's why I came up with Mtaa Safi, a clean mindset, a clean neighborhood, free from whatever people have been perceiving.
Mental health, it's the knowledge and understanding that you get. So it's clean.
Yeah.
Everything is clean.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ideally I was like, in the informal settlement, most of the people tend to do something because it's a norm. And the only way you can change the perspective is by giving them information. And the only way you get the information is through just doing sensitization. You need to engage the community. Unlike maybe in different places, informal settlement, people live together. There's a communal stuff in the community. So what you need to do is to ensure that people understand the thesis of what you're trying to come up with. And that's why I was like, okay, we need to start from the simplest information or tool that we can use for these people to understand. Why do we have people littering everywhere? Why do we have a problem in terms of people paying out for the garbage that come from the houses? Why are people dumping in the rivers and the same people are living?
Why is it so easy to just wake up, take all your dirty stuff in the house and throw it in the river? Like you don't and you don't feel anything.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't normal. And that's why I was like, okay, we need to do something. So I came up with the idea of talking to the community to try to get to understand what they think about the initiative. And they were like, first of all, we do not understand how we can dump our waste. Then people like try to throw it where the landfills are, the rivers are, because there are people who live like close to the river. And unfortunately, we've had people even losing their lives because when it's flooding and everything, So I realized that there's less information about waste management, and that's why I wanted like to make it easier for people to syncretize this thing in the community about waste, environment, how it affects them, how it can be beneficial to them, how it's circular, economical, how it can be sustainable. So it is more of trying to bring it to their level. And that's why we came up with Mtaa Safi. So it was more of preaching the message for them to understand why is this environment important to you? How can it be beneficial to the youth? And how can it be sustainable?
So there's a lot of why. A lot of why are we doing X? Why do we do X? I mean, it's very commendable how you've literally taken up the job of certain organizations or governments to do what they should be doing. But also, I mean, I know that would also mean a really huge, effect on in your pocket. So I can imagine the number of times that you have to go back to your pocket to be able to have some of these programs or initiatives actually, go all the way to fruition. What does that mean in terms of challenges that you face for you to be able to even just sensitize the community? What does that mean to your pocket? What does that mean to your mental health, emotionally, psychologically, spending time away from your family? What does that mean for you?
Okay, if I talk about the mental side of it, I think growing up in an informal settlement, it teaches you how to be like, there's that aspect that you grew up with, like deal with it, Then we grew up with that narrative that if you're a man, you need to do it like extra, So I think it has also played a role in helping us because most of the youth in the informal settlement, as well as any other human being, they go through depression, but they do not realize this is depression because there's some things that you cannot control. But the way the community or your environment is, it doesn't favor you to speak it out. People will say you as a lame guy. People will be like, hey, when you want to
also immediately they just consider you're a mental illness, mental case. In my mental case in Kenya, what they mean is that you are psychotic, you need to be in a hospital and chained to the bed. So if you, unless that's the way you are, move on with your life.
And they'll even make joke of it. They'll take you to Madare or Ungambili.
Wow. Jesus. Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's this joke. So guys, there's this joke. So Madare is like the referral mental institution in Kenya. There's always this joke, even growing up, they'd say like every Friday, over the weekend, I think, every Friday, Friday, that they'd say that a normal Kenyan, normal civilian would conduct a civilian arrest,
Yeah.
And literally take somebody who they consider to be mentally ill to the referral hospital and get 2 packets of maize flour. And it was a joke. So if you even say like you have a problem mentally, they'll say, now you can make me you can make me 2 packets of maize flour. So stop saying things like those. I mean, it sounds funny, but it is so wrong.
It's crazy, It's crazy.
It's literally crazy, for lack of a better word. But also from a financial point of view, I know it affects you. It's not easy. You have to go to your pocket. So how do you survive? How do you sustain Mtaa Safi?
So for me, when I came out of high school, I really wanted to join like campus. So I had a friend of mine. He's from Dubai. So he's an advocate, and he was like trying to take me through the basic concepts of law. That's where my interest is. So I really grew the interest of understanding the constitution, how things are run, the law stuff. I wanted to like venture into law. Because also, apart from that, people have a lot of problems in the community in terms of social justice because they do not understand who to run to. So with that one, it's easier for me to see how I can get small support in the programs that we are doing. Because financially, it's a challenge. If you have to get money from your pocket, you're not earning enough, you have your own family. Then in the community, like Kibera, if you reach to a certain age, like when I was 16, 17, I would already find a place for myself. Because in this single room, I cannot spend the same time with my family, with my sisters, my
privacy,
siblings. It takes a lot. So I think I remember the first house that I moved to, I used to pay like 400. So I have to like go to different places.
It was still a struggle.
It's a struggle.
400 is like $3.
It was a struggle. Because at that particular time you're still in high school. Then at some point you even have to go to school, do an extra thing at school, maybe to see how you can get money even to support the family at home. So these are some of the things that you go through, but they make you who you are.
Yeah.
So financially, it's just more of saving and bringing the friends together who understood the essence of what you're doing. And you're like, if we can save a certain amount of money as a group, then we can come up with a program. I really focused on more of empowerment, because I was trying to tell these guys, if these people understand what you're doing, then it's easier for us to convince other people to support us.
Exactly.
So it took a lot of sacrifice of what do you have? If I have 100 and the other person have 100, how can we come up with a program of maybe twice in a month to bring the community, have a public conversation with the community to understand what they do? In the community, need to get them something like just a refreshment, appreciate their time for being there. Then that's how we did it. And now you start inviting more networks of friends that you have, like the friend that I had from Dubai, trying to see the people that I played football with and they understand what you're doing, coming up with tournaments, So it's more of a straining yourself, trying to see what you have. At the end of the day, you need to survive for yourself. And you also need to make sure that this thing moves, And
it's also the lesson in life. And I love that you're having that conversation around, sometimes you have to suffer yourself as a Nigerian and say you have to struggle a bit at the beginning just so that everything that you're doing can make sense later for a lot of people. So you not only just have to, and what you're doing is you're delegating passion, which is something very rare. Is you're telling people that I have the formula, I know what we need to do, but also I need you guys to understand and put it into practice so you can actually be able to achieve these things. And also a lesson I'm learning from you is that you can't do it on your own. It's not possible. But also in the same breath, government has let you down. Because I feel that, in fact, I even wrote in my notes that your organization should not exist because the government should be doing so much that you, for example, should come in as a consultant in terms of how do you rally the crowds, how do you rally people in Kibera, what language do we speak so they can understand what the government is trying to do. You should be probably working for the government. Not that it's a bad thing, but like, if their programs worked or if they had a vision, you would be the guy on the ground ensuring that it's actually implemented. But governments, I don't know whether they are dissociated with what's happening on the ground. I don't know if it's a lack of empathy or just apathy towards its people. What more do you think the government should be doing, from the head of state to the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Health, to the Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Planning? There is so much involved that they are literally, for lack of a better word, they are doing zilch, nada, zero. They're doing nothing about it. What policies or what would you suggest or what would you advise the government to do to make it easier for organizations like Mtaa Safi to exist?
Okay, so according to my knowledge on the structures of the government, I've always seen the government as this guy who's well-groomed, so eloquent, in good terms, in terms of maybe policies. Kenya is one of the best policy-making countries in the entire world. But now we have the gap in implementation. Because you see, if you give someone an opportunity to do something with zero information, then it becomes very difficult for the exact project to be implemented. And this is where the gap has been. The people who are maybe given the opportunity or the mandate to take care of whatever is happening in the environmental sector, they either have zero or next to none information about how the environment is, what the circular zone entails, who are the primary actors with numbers who are working on the ground. So I think the government need to work more on our implementation, because that's where they've failed us. If they could be implementing whatever we're doing right now, then it would be easier for us to be consultants.
It's coming off like the government, and not what you're saying, but what has been happening. The government has seen another money-making scheme. And even some private institutions where they feel like, environment is a new place to make money. I mean, look at the number of delegates they send out to environmental, very high-level forums and conventions and conferences. Look at the people who, even when we host those kind of events like in the Africa Climate Summit, look at the people who go to represent. You have firsthand have dealt with going to an event where you meet representatives from Kibera, your hood, who are there to represent the hood in terms of environment and people who are doing stuff, in the hood to help alleviate some of these problems. And you realize these guys do not come from Kibera. So it tells you people have realized, there's a place here to make a per diem. there's a place here to make my friends and my cronies travel, to give out these political, gifts and whatever. Does it bother you? Does it pain you seeing that people are now looking at environment as another cash cow, literally?
Yeah, it's so painful because one, I'll say, growing up in Kibera, we still have the gap in terms of even organizations or companies investing in environmental stuff. Because when I grew up in Kibera, I saw like some of the biggest organizations were just focusing on education, well-being, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, everything that we do is useless without an environment that is conducive. Because the environment depicts who you become in the next maybe year or in the future. Because if these kids cannot even just be in a position to escape such simple stuff like a healthy environment, then what are you trying to do at the end of the day?
What's the point of it all?
So I also feel it's like shameful for people who like try to see this as an opportunity. Because at the end of the day, people are like, I'm trying to do something to survive. But these are some of the things that you carry and they go to affect you in the future.
But you survive for how long?
That is the point. That's the problem. Because like you've just mentioned, it's so unfortunate that you meet someone representing Kibera who've never even been to Kibera. They don't even understand the whatever is happening in Kibera. But the point is not competition. The point is, what solutions are we getting? And I've always told anyone that I meet, it's very simple for us to do this because it's local solution to local problems. I grew up in this place. I see where the problems are. I'm doing something toward getting a solution. I'm empowering other people because it's not something that I'm doing to gain the heroism.
Exactly.
I'm trying to impact people to understand that this thing can be sustainable for them. This thing can be more impactful. But at the end of the day, there are some people who will always take advantage. That happens ever since the ancient Rome and everything. But at the end of the day is what do we do as individuals on the ground to see that we can impact people and change the narrative that is there.
So, wow, that's really nice. So now let's look at Kibera now in its entirety, and it's interesting because when people think about Kibera, I mean it's known as probably Africa's largest slum, but also for me it's a gold mine of sorts, because I mean where people for the longest time are not given opportunities, when they decide to rise up, they can really do. People like you who are able to do so much with very little resources. In terms of the environment, in terms of water, in terms of hygiene, when you look at Kibera, what are some of the solutions that you think Kibera requires? Let's talk about like a 1-year plan from today. And I'm looking at you now as the mayor of Kibera. And you're standing in front at Gatwekera, the whole of Kibera is listening to you that day, the whole of Kibera is listening to you, and you want to give us a solution as to how we can deal with the environment. What is your 5-point plan on how you can fix environmental issues in Kibera?
Okay, if I talk about the first thing, I'll talk about empowerment. That is the first important thing. Because if we have empowered people, then they understand what you're trying to do. Because most of the organizations have come up with ideas. Kibera has a lot of water underground. And our organizations like even Shofgo, they're trying to come up with boreholes. Mtaa Safi itself, we've dug a borehole, providing water to the community members. But you see, if you come with your own structure, then how is the water going to be useful to the people who need it? So the first thing is empowerment. The second thing that I'll talk about is
empowerment even through knowledge. Knowledge and also the pockets. The second thing I'll talk about is financial support and resources. Because there's a lot of great idea. Not only Mtaa Safi, a lot of youth have a lot of ideas, but these guys are not financially resourceful to do whatever they love to do. It's very difficult for you to know or understand who is the best person that I can share the idea to without having the fear of losing the idea or maybe not getting the support. Then the other thing I'll talk about is the important thing is the implementation. Because we talk about a lot of stuff. So many said, nothing is done. So we keep on going through the same circular stuff, So implementation is a big issue, a big problem.
It's a very big problem. Because we can have best ideas, we can talk about them. We have very, very nice people talking in the parliament, trying to debate about good stuff, but how much is implemented? How many people understand that this thing is meant for them?
What about the city council when they decide to go and clean the streets? Are they doing, is anyone following up on what they're supposed to be doing? What about Nairobi City Water when we talk about water leakages? What about the environment ministry when we talk about cleanup days or cleaning up? So that implementation is the issue. What about planning?
Yeah.
Are they, arresting, let's say, these big landlords who say they can build over a river and do heck all that they want to this? What about even issues like, let's say, fire department? Someone decides they're going to obstruct the road or where the fire department should get their water because someone who is in power, who's powerful, who's a landlord, and no one's going to touch them. So this, because of someone who grew up in the ghetto, you do have a huge point here. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're saying the biggest issue here is that, Anto, I have so many ideas. We have so many ideas in Kibera. We are an idea gold mine. But the problem is implementing these ideas is our biggest problem. Let's head on to Kenya's tree planting day. I don't know, we spent 150 million. I don't know how much we spent during the Kenya tree planting day. Is it? Do you think it's gonna work? Is it viable? Is it something commendable? Do you think the president is doing enough? As far as, it's come off like he's a very big environmentalist. Is it enough? Is there any foul play in terms of participation on the ground? Did it happen and you felt, maybe the events that happen, for example, to do the environment, and you feel left out a lot of times, or you feel like, okay, I can't be everywhere, but how do they miss me for this event happening? Are these initiatives by the president, by the presidency, are they worthwhile?
Okay, yeah, so I'll say, first of all, that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
And like I've always said, we are very good at coming up with ideas. We're very good at coming up with policies. Until Kenya set aside 500 billion to plant 5 billion trees by 2032.
Yeah.
Right now, as we're standing, our forest percentage is at 12.
Yeah.
We are aiming at 25.
Wow.
So you see, this is unrealistic by that period of time.
Yes.
Because that means that we have to work on 50 billion a year for us to plant at least 1 billion trees every year.
Because they'll die. They have to be watered. And remember, you're planting them, like, let's say right now, we decide to go all the way to Kino.
Yeah.
So we plant them in Kino and then we have to go back home. So who's supposed to take care of them?
So I think the aspect of environment is trying to understand sustainability.
Yeah.
There's tree planting and tree growing. If you're an environmentalist, I know my friend Boya will align with this.
Yeah.
If you're an environmentalist, you grow a tree, do not plant it. Planting a tree, everyone can do it.
We can do it right now.
Yeah, we just plant a tree, then we move. But growing a tree is walking with the trees like your kid. But it doesn't even make no sense because at the end of the day, why would you plant 1 billion trees and at the same time people are given the opportunity to cut down the trees?
You see, this is why I always insist on having the youth in some of these forums, because I feel that if someone like Ruto and his idea whatever crew thought of, let's have a few young people who are actually, like you said, people who are doing stuff on the ground. Let's have them here. You, Mboya, the like of Alphonse, all those guys. Let's sit down and let's actually hear what these guys have to say. Imagine you sitting in a room full of PhD holders and saying, why are we calling tree planting? Let's call it tree growing.
Yeah.
It comes with more responsibility. But you know why? Nobody like you or your age was in that room. So nobody would have seen that vacuum. Okay, so tree growing. Let's change to tree growing. He has many other initiatives, including carbon credit, including financing governments basically because of climate change and the fact that we are not to blame for climate change, but we are the worst hit when it comes to the effects of climate change. When you listen and when you hear to all these plans that he has, again, are they worthwhile? Do they need reconstructing? Do they need more participation? Or have you reached a point where you just say, you know what? Stew yourself, fry yourself in your own oil. I am just tired of trying to make these guys understand. Where are you?
Okay, I'll say I'll never get tired.
Yeah.
Because, You see, for the climate change, people still do not understand what climate change is. A bigger percentage of people in the maybe in the country. So it's more of trying to talk to these people to understand what is it. And this thing doesn't happen the same in all the regions.
Yeah.
The heat at maybe in Kibera will not be the same in Turkana. And people need to understand this because these are things have been happening there, but now it's just becoming extreme.
Yeah.
I think there's a good structure to do this, but again, who are you consulting?
Yeah.
Because if you say that the youth are the future of tomorrow and you put us away from understanding the
God,
ideas.
I hate that statement. I've grown up all my life hearing that. I hate it so much. You guys, now I am past getting a tender as a youth. And I'm still hearing that nonsense of the youth as moving on swiftly.
So if these people do not understand what is going to happen in the next 2 or 3 months, that's how I see it as a long-term goal. 2-3 months. If you do not engage me right now as a youth, then I lose the interest. These guys are not going to be young in the next 10 years. The president will not have the same energy he has right now in the next 10 years. The same people in the cabinet. So this means that we're just trying to bring a Kenya that is going to be more useless compared to whatever we are right now. Because right now the tendency is where the youth are trying to give up. How many people are strong enough to hold and say we're going to fight for this country? How many people are strong enough to hold and say, hey, let's fight for the environment because we understand the side effects of the climate change. So it takes more of a opportunities, not just opportunities to showcase on our media and say, hey, we are some 1, 2, 3 other people who are doing this stuff, but empower these people to elevate. Is not more of a change, it's more of a transition. A transition is, you saw me today in this particular point, tomorrow this is the number of impact that I have that can be weighed, and there's a data to show that. I think that's where we are failing.
I love that. It's more of a transition. As we transition to the end of our conversation, let's talk about COP28 and all the shenanigans that come with COP28, because I feel there's very little in conversation around environment, but more around the drama that happens around. And it's only in Kenya where like 700 million people from this country ended up. By the way, 700 people going to a conference means that it's like a high school. That's like a school.
Yeah.
It's like everyone for a week leaving school and going to pitch tent in another school. And there's nobody in that school, including the teachers. That's what it means by 700 people. It means you can walk around and ask, hey, I've not seen Juma of late. Juma is in Dubai. Then I walk around and say, where is Sheila? Even her, she's in Dubai. That's how COP28, it really came off for me. Like, there's so much drama around the expenditure, around the money involved with COP, rather than actually the ideas. And there's so many people who are there. There's the likes of Boya, the likes of Alphonse. There's a lady, why has her name left me? We were with her at the EU event. Why has the name gone? What's Wadhuti? Oh my God, Wadhuti. So, people who are doing such great stuff, but all that is always taken away from the shenanigans that comes with government being involved in stuff. So let's talk about those sort of conferences. Do those conferences mean anything in terms of financing more developing worlds, in terms of ideas, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of resources? Do they mean anything to you as an environmentalist? Or is it another chance for guys to, prop up themselves?
Okay, I'll say, honestly, it's an opportunity for people to have a road trip.
Yeah.
To go to Dubai.
Mboya, are you hearing? He's gonna come here. The next guest is a guy called Mboya who, even he was on a road trip. But
Okay.
I will find out if he was really on a road trip. No, you can't. Don't. He's like, no, I didn't go on a road trip. So it's a chance for guys to go on a road trip.
I think Mboya will understand what I'm saying. From the aspect of the people who are supported to go.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're talking about 700 people supported by the government to go to COP28.
Yeah.
And ideally, from what I heard from
Hi, Ego. That's my friend. She's called Ego. Hi, Ego.
So ideally, from what we had initially from the plan of Sultan Al-Jaber,
Yes.
the main aspects that were targeted for COP28 this time, I think, was on fossil fuels and stuff to do with finances, you know.
Yeah.
But I've always asked myself, we've always have a lot of the biggest number of delegates going to these activities, anything related to environment, summits representing the government.
Yeah.
But where are these people after this event? What reports do we get back?
Yeah.
The point is, I know people like Mboyago, they get networks which are trying to empower the partnership for the primary actors and the local youth who are doing something on environment. But the number of bigger people went for the road trips, people were to go fun and just see how luxurious Dubai looks like.
Yeah.
What reports do they have for us?
Yeah.
What can be talked about?
And can they be made public, these reports? Because you go and you present a whole office or a whole organization or institution, make that report public. So, you didn't go there and came back with a 2-page report.
Yeah.
Every single day, like a 2-day report times 6. So 12-page report to understand which conferences did you go to, which breakout sessions were you a part of, what did you learn, what implementation ideas do you have, not just those representation at COP, and then what, It's very sad. We can beat this. We can beat this conversation until the end of times. But as we end this conversation, what is your plan for Mtaa Safi and the Pan-African perspective, and what are your plans? What do you want to do? How does your next 2-3 years look like? We're 1924. How does 2026 look like for you? The next COP. How does Mtaa Safi look like for you? Do you intend to have Mtaa Safi move into Mukuru, into Mathare? What are the big ideas you have for yourself?
So I'll say, like, for now, Mtaa Safi, we've tried to do the best we can to achieve whatever we are doing. We're working to 21 youth. So the biggest goal that I've seen with Mtaa Safi, or the vision that I have, is trying to empower the youth for circular economy.
Yeah.
Because right now we are working on waste management. I've been working on a thesis to understand different markets for different types of waste.
Yeah.
And I think before even we go to the next 2 or 3 years, maybe we talk about the next 6 months plan, which is trying to come up with a green space. Because unfortunately in Kibera we do not have a green space. We do not have buyback centers.
Yeah.
So if we can have such buyback center, that is job opportunities to at least more than 50 youth. Because a lot of the youth are working on a daily basis of waste management, picking up this garbage and everything. But what do they get in return? Because we still have middlemen. Yeah. So the main motive of Mtaa Safi for me is to get rid of these middlemen so that we bring the market closer to this youth to understand that the waste that you are having, either it's organic, plastic, paper waste, electronic, all type of waste have their markets, which we already do have right now.
Yeah.
So by coming up with a buyback center and a green space, then it's easier for them to come and learn more ideas, try to implement them. And you see, for me, Anto, I've always not seen Mtaa Safi as having another branch in Mukuru.
Yeah.
We have groups doing such stuff.
I mean, Mukuru is France right now. According to the president. Mukuru is in Europe. Mukuru, guys, is another slum, so you can Google it. Mukuru. But the president said that it's like France. It's Marseille. So, we don't want to... We can't include Mukuru in this conversation again. So, yeah, you're saying, it's not about... This is an organization to like branch out and do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to maintain your center.
Maintain the center.
Yeah.
Work with people, partner with people who are doing the same thing that you're doing. Empower them in their place to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of passing on.
Yeah.
And sharing the knowledge.
Exactly.
I don't see the essence of us having branches all over Kenya, which are not impactful. But we already have people like Mtaa Safi who are trying to do something in their communities.
Yeah.
So the idea is to work with them in the next 3 or 5 years, making it simple for us to understand where do we get these resources, where do we get the finances, how do we use them in an easier way. Because you see, most of the grants or maybe the finances come with a lot of difficulties in terms of regulations and monitoring and evaluation. So it becomes very impossible or next to impossible for people who've never had such information on management to know how to run the programs.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're doing the most job, but they're not given the grant simply because they do not have the class knowledge of running this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think
even just applying for the grants and for the funds, and even sort of accounting for that becomes a huge problem, which stops them from gaining other opportunities. Because I mean, also, and I remember we had this conversation during the EU in Kenya event that we had. The monitoring and evaluation bit of it is stopping a lot of these people from getting grants, because what the organizations are more concerned about is, what did you do with the money within 6 months, within 8 months? Account for us. Well, sometimes, think about it this way. If, let's say, you had to pay for casual laborers to, let's say, build a mini dam in Kibera, how do you begin to have these guys invoice you? How can they invoice you for, let's say, 1,000 shillings, $10 a day worth of work, so you can then send this money, so send these invoices back to your grantor? How how do you start? So you look like you're stealing their money, but in effect, on the ground, things are so different that giving somebody a grant with so many caveats is not really giving them a grant. It's more of like it's choose between a carrot and a stick. What do you want to give me? Are you giving me a stick to beat me, or do you want to give me a carrot? Which one do you want? So I completely get you. I mean, for anybody who wants to be in touch with you, who'd like you to go to schools, to speak to young kids, to, probably start, help start, clubs for young kids. Maybe it's their culture club, environment club, in primary schools, in high schools, in uni. Maybe somebody wants you to have you at a conference to speak and bring your insight, or even at a panel, a creative, panel, so you can speak and you can have these conversations. How can they reach you? Do you want to leave your number? Do you want to leave your social media handles so they can just hear you out and be like, I want to talk to that guy. I want to talk to Juma of Mtaa Safi. Even your email, how can they reach you?
Okay, so we have our social media pages for Mtaa Safi Initiative. That is on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And you can reach out from there. I also have...
The handles are?
Yes.
The handles?
Mtaa Safi Initiative.
So it's MTAASAFI, Mtaa Safi Initiative.
Yeah.
Okay. Email, number?
Yeah, so our email is mtaasafi2018 at gmail.com. Then I also have my phone number that's active. So that's +254 702 691 592.
So +254 702
691 592.
592.
Yeah.
So the girls who have a crush on you, they should also like... There probably be some girls be like, let me...
It's only for the environment business. Cause.
Some girls will be like, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Some girls will be like, I have a bush. I want him to clear the bush.
I'm not clearing the private bush.
Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. Anyway, it is what it is. Do you keep promises?
I do.
Where are my shoes? That's all I'm gonna say. So girls, don't even inbox him, because he does not keep promises. This guy, the first time I met him, they were not even these shoes. There were shoes like these ones. What are these shoes? No. There were shoes. Ebu come and go to his shoe game. I saw this guy with shoes like this at an EU in Kenya event that he was a part of, and he was speaking to the EU ambassador. And this dude, I saw the shoes and I was like, I want shoes like those. Since September of last year, I am still waiting. Utter disbelief.
The problem with the shoes is like they're not from the shop.
Please.
They are Mutumba shoes, so I need to
whatever, man.
Get them. I'll get them for you.
I don't want to hear. It's so difficult for you to get me second-hand shoes. Like, it's so difficult. I'm disappointed in you, but I'm very proud of what you do. When I met you, we immediately clicked and I knew that you're doing great stuff. And I decided from your episode, I have a book here called The Pocket Rumi. Certain quotes that I read from, this prophet called Rumi. And I have one for you today. The one that I have for you today is The Soul Garden. Just as the heart becomes carefree in a place of green growing plants, goodwill and kindness are born when our souls enter happiness. So keep doing good. Keep being kind. And I hope that will allow your soul to enter into happiness. Thank you for unlocking your soul with me and with all of us. And I hope that you keep unlocking Mtaa Safi, man. That's what's up. Hiya. Thank you. Make sure you follow us on all our social media handles at Instagram at Unlock Your Soul Podcast and on TikTok at Unlock Your Soul Podcast. Follow, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification button. And thank you for so far we have 1,490, I think 1,500 subscribers on YouTube, and we are growing. So thank you for all the love that you're showing us on our YouTube. Keep it locked and keep unlocking your soul. I want to remind you to unlock your soul with Anto Neosoul. All you gotta do is make sure you like every video on this platform. Please comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification button and let us unlock our souls.